Because
if I live on this property, bro.
Listen to me. I explain to
you. You don't know if I'm fixing my car,
right,
if I'm
and that's
waiting
why,
to leave or not. So why is you walking up saying I'm loitering?
Because do you know the definition of loitering? Get on Google right now, look up definition.
I don't need to. You probably want me to start recording so you can.
No, you can keep recording. I would encourage you to keep recording.
And now you done called your what? Security effect?
There ain't no security here. Everybody's police officers, as you're about to find out.
It don't matter, so as you're about to find out, you don't have no reason to come over here to stop.
I do, because you're loitering on the property, sir, and I just asked you for identification, and because I don't know you, when I asked you where you live at, you can't give me an address where you live.
I'm not about to tell you where I live. I don't know who you are. You could be a fake police officer.
There ain't no...
So why would I tell you where I live? Is anybody here a fake
police officer?
Nope, not that I know of.
Bro, can I get
Here's my badge. You want my ID?
Yeah, I want everything from everybody. Yeah.
We're gonna need your ID, sir.
You can film me all you want. I really don't give a shit.
That's not the point.
There it is, Sergeant Robert Patterson, Southport Police Department.
Him too. Why is he looking at my card?
You have ID on you?
Can I get his badge number?
You have ID on you.
Can I get his
badge? You can go to jail
number?
for not IDing yourself.
No, I cannot.
Yes, you can.
For what? What is my doing?
Because you have to identify yourself to a law enforcement officer. That's the law. Okay?
What is the crime, though?
Okay, step on out.
Oh, well,
it's the hard way then. Step on out.
What is the crime?
Step on out.
What is the crime?
Sir, either you're going to step out or we're going to bring you out.
What is the crime, bro?
I just told you what it was.
What is the crime? Is what I'm saying.
I just told you what it was.
What is that?
You're not IDing yourself.
That's a crime? A crime involves injured party. Come on, don't play with me.
Okay.
So y'all really about to fuck with me?
Step on out. Step on out.
Why are you touching me, bro?
Step on out.
Dude, step out of the car. Don't
make I suggest you, bro. Don't make it worse.
Bro, why are you touching me, bro? What the fuck is y'all doing, bro?
Stop tensing up.
What the fuck is you
Stop tensing up.
Bro.
You got a cup?
Bro, back up, bro. Hey, bro. Man, back the fuck. Get off me, bro.
Stop tensing up.
Get off me, bro. Are you serious, bro? Are you serious, bro?
Okay, so first off, shout out to Miss New Era for sending me this article, and you couldn't see the clip itself. I didn't want to play, but what I'll do is I'll leave the link to the article. You can actually see it for yourself. But basically, let me just give you a visual of what I saw in the clip. So basically, well, let me give you a backstory. This guy in this image right here, his name is Joquon Dean, and he was arrested by these police officers in Indiana, and all he was doing was working on his car outside of the apartment complex that he worked at. And I'm guessing because these officers, or this guy who I'm guessing, they say he's a security guard, I don't know who he is, claims that he's never seen him around there before, he's suspicious. See, this is the thing right here. Black people can live anywhere in this establishment, anywhere. But if you have one white person that feels suspicious of you, then it seems like they will send all kind of units after you. Now, looking at the clip, he's only talking to one cop or one person. Then when he pans the camera over, you see a second one come up. Then he pans it over again to his right, and the third one is there. Like literally, he's in his car, and his car is like slowly but surely being surrounded by these pigs. And all he was doing was fixing his car in the parking lot of his apartment complex. And they claim because they don't know who he is, that he was somehow loitering. And they asked him for ID, and he was asking him the specific questions: what was the crime that was committed? And he has every right to. See, this is the thing. They don't like when black people know their rights. They hate that because they see that as you being smart or getting smart with them. They see that as a confrontation. And then they literally, like pulled him out of the car, and he said, stop tensing up, stop tensing up. I was waiting for him to say stop resisting arrest, and I'm almost certain that's what he was alluding to, and threw him on the ground, and then he was arrested. But eventually he was let go. But I'm gonna go ahead and read this article because it gives it more in depth. I just wanted to give you an overview of what the video showed. It says Joquon Dean was arrested by Indiana police officers after being accused of loitering outside of his own apartment complex. While working on his car in the building's parking lot, a uniformed officer approached Dean asking for his identification. Dean began recording shortly after the officer accused him of loitering. How am I loitering if I live on this property? You don't know if I'm fixing my car, if I'm wanting to leave or not, so why is you walking up saying I'm loitering? The guy said, do you know the definition of loitering, officer? James Reynolds responded, get on Google right now and look up the definition of the word. See, that's the shit I don't like. He assumed that this black guy didn't know the definition of the word loitering. And told he didn't ask him, and told him to get on Google to look up the definition of the word. A second officer then approaches the vehicle with Dean asking to see his badge number. The officer did so, telling him, you can film me all you want, I really don't give a shit. After repeatedly asking officer what crime he committed that warranted him being questioned, they then proceed to pull him out of the vehicle by force. Dean was arrested for resisting arrest and refusing to identify, the latter being an Indiana law requiring a person to give their name, address, and date of birth to a law enforcement officer who has stopped the person for an infraction or ordinance violation. The route reports Indiana law also requires those reasonably suspected of a crime to identify themselves. Refusing to do so under Indiana loitering code gives police reasonable suspicion to believe a suspect may have violated the loitering law. However, the law only applies to loitering in public areas such as a street, highway, or alley, not an apartment complex. Dean was also correct in questioning if Reynolds was a legitimate officer. As it turns out, he isn't. The guy who came up to him and was starting to ask him questions, when y'all look at the video, he's the very first guy that he's talking to. Quote unquote, Officer Reynolds runs a security company, Reynolds Security Consulting Corporation, out of Plainfield, and is also a reserve officer for the town of Sheridan. Now, why does this sound so familiar? Doesn't this sound just like what George Zimmerman did with Trayvon Martin? Now, George Zimmerman was not a cop by any means. He was just a fucking neighborhood watch. A person without a badge or a gun. He probably just had a goddamn flashlight, a damn rent-a-cop, like in Friday After Next. So this guy was accosted by a cop who wasn't even a real cop, and you can tell that his jig was up the minute that Joquon Dean asked him, is he even a real cop? Because I think something just told him that he wasn't. See, now I see why the Jedi calls them costumes. If you watched any of his videos, he always say cops are wearing that goddamn costume. That guy had on nothing but a fucking costume. All he did was see this black guy, went and put on some vest and everything. And you can tell he was different from the rest because the other two cops actually had on, I guess we could say, legitimate cop uniforms. This guy, as you can see, has this on. And he should have asked him for his badge and seen what he would have pulled up, but he probably would have said, no, I don't have to show you. That right there would have let you know that the guy was faking the funk. But this is the shit I'm talking about right here. The shit right here. Now, I know I said in my theories of soft targets, those were women, children, and elderly. But now I think I'm going to have to slip black men in there somehow, because this is a way of them being a soft target. You saw, like, when you watch the video, they literally surrounded him to get this one guy. This one guy. Now, when they accost the other soft targets, it usually takes one. But when they have to accost the black man, it takes what seems to be damn near an army. I'm like, damn, we must be that fucking strong. We must have the strength of the goddamn Hulk in order for them to have to get to take down one of us, and it takes three of them. Y'all, I never did a video on it, but if y'all saw that video where that black man was pulled over the road by them two cops, and they tased him, but the tase didn't work, he climbed in that car and had a shootout with him and then drove off. I think he shot both of them and drove away. I don't know if they got the guy, because I never followed the story, but I did hear about it. But this is the shit we got to deal with daily. And the fact that this guy isn't even a real cop and tried to pose as one should be a direct violation, and they need to find a way to shut down his goddamn business. We got the name of the business now. Now all they got to do is make sure that that shit is no longer running, because this guy was faking the goddamn funk the whole damn time. And he was the one that was being the goddamn aggressor. It's like I said, they don't want us anywhere. They're making it pretty damn apparent. They're making that very much aware that they don't like having us around. And I know Indiana is a very racist state. I know it is. They just do not like having us around. They would not have done this to a white person who was in the parking lot fixing their car or whatever. Hell, it could have been a white person there trying to steal the car, and they wouldn't have done it. Remember, I just did a video about Vegas where this white guy went around stabbing these two women, and they want to shoot him with rubber bullets and shit, And he down there jogging with a knife in his hand, and then they shoot to injure him and then put him in the same goddamn hospital room as the 2 women that he tried to kill. So don't tell me this goddamn white privilege shit ain't real and how we're getting treated in this establishment is not. Because it is. Well, now that they have their faces, because you can see all their faces in the video, especially this piece of shit on the right, you can really see him. They need to do what needs to be done and shut his entire business down. They already named it in the article. Get rid of it. Toss it away. Y'all let me know what you think down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. The links will be down below. I'll talk to you in the next one.